The 2025 NCAA tournament has felt a bit off for you. And don't worry, you're not crazy. March Madness this year has been historically odd. It feels empty, and this is why. This is the first season since 2007 where we haven't had at least one team seeded 11 or lower reach the second weekend. And oh, that didn't do it for you? For the first time since the tournament expanded in 1985, the Sweet 16 is comprised entirely of teams from power conferences. Some people are quick to blame the NIL and transfer portal for the death of the Cinderella, or maybe it's just a one-time anomaly. Watch to the end of the video. We're going to discuss it all, and you'll be able to make the judgment for yourself. The 2025 NCAA tournament has unfolded in a way that hasn't lived up to the madness at all. In the first round, the top 4 seeds in each region achieved a flawless 16-0 record, which we last saw in 2017, and most of these victories were decisive, with an average margin of victory of 22.6 points. Purdue dominated High Point, Wisconsin overwhelmed Montana, Oregon dominated Liberty. Now, there were isolated upsets like McNeese State and Drake, but those were few and far between, and in the second round, all of those Cinderella dreams died. In the round of 32, these two teams got handled, and our last chance for an actual Cinderella was 12-seeded Colorado State out of the Mountain West, and no, they get beat on the buzzer. Come on. Now, the only double-digit seed we have in the Sweet 16 is Arkansas with Coach Cal, and we don't even count that as a Cinderella. They're from the SEC. 14 out of 16 teams from that conference made the tourney. The first theory for why this is happening is that it's just an anomaly and we're totally overreacting. Some years in college hoops, the skill gap between the elite teams and the rest of the field is very tiny. Now, this would lead to a 2023 type season. Here's what the bracket looked like. Where are the number 1 seeds? They all went down. But in 2025, a season with a massive skill gap, with elite teams so far separated from the rest, you're more likely to get straight chalk. This is not a season where we go in the field with experts telling us that there's 1 or 2 teams with an actual shot at winning it. I mean, come on. Auburn, Duke, Florida, Houston, Alabama, Tennessee, and more. It's unreal. Even if we had a field of elite level mid-majors like we've seen in the past, they would probably just run into buzzsaws in 2025. Now, let's talk about the direction of mid-majors, which has a lot of people worried. In today's landscape of college sports, are mid-majors dying? How does a team with less overall athletic revenue, worse talent, and worse facilities end up beating these big dogs every single March? The main answer is experienced, developed players in a long-term system. Experience is what made the George Masons and the Loyola Chicagos, but in 2025, the age of NIL, transfer portal, the second these players are getting good or slightly good at the mid-major level, they get poached by a team from the Power 4 much faster than they're used to. Take a look at last year's tournament in 2024. Who were some of the top guys for mid-majors who made a run? Trey Townsend from Oakland. Well, now he's on Arizona. How about Terrence Edwards Jr. from James Madison? They won their first round game as a 12 seed. Well, he's on Louisville. These are just a couple small examples, and I'll get into more soon. It's hard to blame these guys with the access that they would be getting at a Power 4 because the business model for these schools have changed. It's not getting the top young talent anymore. It's the senior or fifth-year guy. That's how the big schools want to play now. They want to play like how the mid-majors used to, and they poach all their guys. I sound like a broken record, but mid-majors are becoming the farm system as we already expected, but there is a way around this. I'll get into it in a moment. Now, maybe this is still too early to call. You can't make a long-term judgment based off 1 year. Think about it. FAU still made the Final Four with these same NIL transfer portal rules. FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson, still beat Purdue with these same rules. St. Peter's made the Elite Eight and more. But maybe that's because the NIL era needed a few years to establish itself with teams using the new GM strategies, and this could be the new normal because in 2024, besides 11-seeded NC State, who is still a power conference team, no mid-majors made a big run. And if you think all these shenanigans were one-off or going to stop, just moments after Drake lost in their tournament game, Bennett Sturts, the guy who put up 20 in their win, is transferring to Iowa. And now New Mexico, they hung in there with Michigan State to even reach the Sweet 16. Their leading scorer, Donovan Dent, one of the best players in college basketball, is also hitting the portal. This is not going to stop. I know I haven't mentioned anything about the coaching carousel, and that's because it's not new. That's been happening for decades. We understand that these coaches are going to go to bigger schools for more money. However, let's get into the bright side. It's only a matter of time before mid-majors adapt to the talent monopoly of big schools. The new wave is going Division II. If your low-level D1 talent is being taken from you when they're juniors and seniors, you're going to have to go to a different level to get some of that talent to compete in March. 2025 was the first tournament where there was a lot of dialogue about these D2 guys. Drake did it. They had 4 players. UCSD had 6 D2 transfers and almost, yes, almost beated 5-seeded Michigan. Mid-majors are also going to lean international for recruitment. Think about St. Mary's. They've had a connection to Australia since way back in the day, and they're always going to be good. Guys, maybe we're just absolutely tripping because it's an anomaly type year. This narrative about Cinderella's being dead never would have happened if it wasn't for a few plays. Colorado State could have moved on. UCSD could have completed the comeback, and we never would have had this to talk about. Maybe for a one-time change, all chalk would be good for the NCAA. Maybe they get higher ratings when you're having a Duke versus Houston in a Final Four or a Michigan State Auburn in the Elite Eight. I don't know. But if we see this year in and year out, that would suck. I mean, 75% of the reason why I'm watching March Madness in the first place is for the St. Peters. This is purely an open discussion, so let me hear your take in the comments. I've been Saturday Shenanigans, your home for great college sports content, and I'll see you guys soon.